Hello everyone, this is the one, and today I want to talk about my 4.6 tier list. Now keep in mind, tier lists are not static, and it is also my opinion, so not everything is entirely accurate, but rather how I see the current meta. This is in a competitive setting with all 4 ranked modes taken into account. Let's get into it. Alright, so I'm not going to talk about the bottom tiers much at all. These are weapons that are unviable for competitive, and if you really have any questions on any of them, the comments are a better place, as most of these are incredibly obvious to most people why they are placed where they are. E tiers have slightly more redeeming qualities than F tiers, and both of them are really just unviable for competitive. None of them should really see any use at all. Next up we have the low tiers, which are actually somewhat worth covering. D tiers are less redeeming and more likely to fall down, while C tiers could rise up to mid tier, and some of them have slight potential. D tiers have several problems. Junior, for example, is a horrible main weapon that can't really fight or compete with other weapons, and its kit just isn't enough to make up for it when there's stronger options like the Kensa Undercover Brilla that can spam a way more valuable sub and get more armor. Romatic is a great main weapon with an okay sub that's built around spamming inkjets, which isn't valuable right now when inkjet's one of the weaker specials right now. Vanilla Dapples are a pretty meh kit with a just pretty meh main weapon. It really needs a kit that could make up for the main weapon in order for Dapples to shine. And the main thing this needs is a pokeable sub, something it can do in the neutral when it has nothing to do. And this does not help the Dapple at all. Next up are the two Lunas. Honestly, blasters are just becoming a worse and worse choice in this meta. The only thing that's solid with blasters right now is their range, and I don't see Lunas rising much at all. The end lag is too horrible, and even with insane kits, they see pretty much no use. Sorella Tentabrel is an example of a solid main weapon with a horrible kit. Wall is very useless when it already has a Tenta shield, and Curling Launcher is just no use at all. This actually used to see some slight niche use in Japan, but recently with the Camo Tenta coming out, any reason to use this has been just completely taken out, and it's only going to fall down from here. But Bamboo Mach 2, Kensa Chargers, and Custom E-Leaders are all actually good main weapons, but they suffer the problem of having horrible kits that don't let the main weapon shine at all. The Tri-Slosher Novu is a solid kit, especially being 170p as of the recent patch, but the main problem is just the main weapon is lackluster. The overall lack of range, meh damage, and just horrible hitbox detection with dead zones being present in between the Tri-Slosh itself just makes it really inconsistent. Bloblobber is another weapon that just doesn't do its role very well. It's supposed to be a distance and pressure tool while being able to paint solidly, but the blobs travel so slowly that they're so easy to avoid, and there are much better weapons even in low tier that can put ranged pressure while having Inkstorm. It just isn't a very solid choice in the end. Both rollers have the problems that blasters do. They're way too slow and way too lackluster. This is why once again you'll be seeing the faster rollers near the top of the tier list compared to these which are near the bottom. Now the Dynamo Roller is overall an okay main weapon. It has good pain and pressure, but this kit just doesn't really work for it as it's more made for a backline. Dynamos in general still have the problem of being way too slow. Vanilla Inkbrush is actually a very good main weapon, but with a kit that just doesn't work for it whatsoever. Splashdown is just absolutely atrocious, and it's super easy to die with it. Splat Bomb is nice, but it can't make up for it when the other two ink brushes have amazing kits. Next up in C tier is the low tiers. Splattershot could rise up a little bit. Splattershot is a pretty solid main weapon right now, but unfortunately the idea of having Splashdown just isn't too great right now. And with the clear Dapples coming out, the Splashdown niche might have been taken over completely, which has dropped this weapon down a good chunk. Just having a weapon as strong as the clears in comparison with the Splattershot just makes it really hard to find reason to use the vanilla Splattershot anymore. Both 52s have pretty mech kits overall. Point Sensor really doesn't work for the vanilla 52, while Stingray doesn't really work for the 52 Deco. On top of that, the weapon's RNG is absolutely horrible, and nothing the main weapon has will save it, or the kits. The Dapples Novu have the problem of Mist and Inkstorm being a solid kit, but again having nothing that can really poke in the neutral. This is a problem all short range weapons have. They need something to be able to do and they can't get in their range, and Mist spamming is overall not good. It's nice for Rainmaker at least. Vanilla Squeezer has a backline kit on a midline. Wall doesn't work for it too well compared to other subs like a bomb, and overall its lack of painting means it won't really be able to clutch Ray out anyway. It's just not too valuable overall. Both the blasters have the problem of being blasters. Their kits are lackluster, and while the main weapon's okay, it struggles against the top tiers of the current patch. It's just unable to compete with the high mobility that these other weapons can provide. Rapids are the similar thing. Lackluster kits while being unable to compete with the top tiers very well. The main power buff helps it, but still having to dedicate half your gear to have a solid blast radius isn't exactly a strength. Nautilus is a solid main weapon, but Inkjet's just not very nice for it. Same for Heavy Deco with Wall and Bubbles. There's just better options, and in a patch where Bubbles really need to have a strong main and sub weapon, Wall isn't going to help that. And Heavy that needs to have a charge isn't going to much either. Tri-Slosher has an amazing kit, which puts it higher than the Nuvo variant, but it still suffers from the problems listed earlier. Carbon is a pretty solid main weapon overall. Autobomb can help a little bit in the neutral, and Carbon's overall very fast, allowing it to pull off some nice things in the end. However, it's just not good enough to be super high up, as still it's a very short range weapon that can be outranged and taken out if you know to play against it. The other two Dynamos have better kits, but still have the problems listed earlier of Dynamo being too slow. At least these are actual midlines now. Lastly, all three Octobrushes have pretty solid kits, but all have some flaws. In the end, Octobrush is still just not a very good main weapon. Its damage outside of very close range is completely inconsistent and unreliable. It makes it very hard for Octobrush to do anything when it's locked out. It's still pretty nice and even has some good matchups against top tiers when it can get map control, but it's very reliant on a team that knows how to play around it for a weapon strength that could be replicated on other weapons. Alright, that was low and bottom tier. Next time we'll be getting into mid tier and we'll be talking about some more relevant weapons. These are the most irrelevant weapons in the game, especially those in bottom tier. Hopefully we can see some of these getting buffs, kit changes, or whatever they may need. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in another video.